here with Epic Geeks at EGX Res in London, and I am with Phi from Phi Games. Hi Phi, how are you?
Hello.
How's it going at Res? You've got TinyKeep that you're showing here. We saw you at Birmingham when TinyKeep was kind of just in development. You had one level, I think, there, didn't you, to show everybody? Yeah? How has TinyKeep sort of developed since then? And maybe could you just tell people about TinyKeep in case they don't know anything about it?
So basically, TinyKeep's on the front of it. It's a procedure-generated roguelike, but it's more of an action game than an RPG game. So unlike similar themed games like Diablo and Torchlight, it's much more kind of physics-based. So when you fight, you got to block with your shield. You got to wait for your sword to hit the enemy. So it feels much more dynamic, and you can do environmental kind of physics stuff. So you can set fire to an environment. You can knock obstacles over, push things onto traps, that kind of thing. So at Res we showed one level, and now there's like 22 levels in total, 3 different endings, loads and loads of secret areas, lots of different weapons, and like 30 monsters, boss levels, that kind of thing. So yeah, we've been pretty busy since you last saw us. So.
That's a lot of work.
Yes.
And you're the only programmer, aren't you?
I'm the only programmer in the game. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How many hours are you having to put in then to develop 22 levels and all this work?
So I think when I last saw you, I'd been doing 9 to 5 kind of stuff. Past 4 or 5 months I've been kind of crunching, so it's been a long kind of crunch time, and that's no evenings, no weekends off really, no holidays, 5 hours sleep a day. So just to get a game done, because we got funded on Kickstarter last year, and so there was a limited amount of money, and I didn't want to get to the point where I'd have to seek additional funding or work a part-time job or work a full-time job and do it evenings and weekends again. So we really had to get it done by September really. So, and it's now finished. So.
We're nearly there. Which we'll talk about in a minute, the launch date and everything else. Now, you were funded by Kickstarter.
That's right, yeah.
How do you think that crowdfunding has changed how indie developers can create games like this? Would you have been able to do this without crowdfunding from Kickstarter?
I probably would be able to do this, but it'll probably take me 5 years maybe if I did it kind of evenings and weekends as a hobby. Because if you have a full-time job, the last thing you want to do is come home from your job and then do more programming. Just want to chill, watch telly, that kind of thing, and it just gets real life gets in the way. So so having Kickstarter means that you can work on what you want to do without the pressures of having, say, investment from publishers or investment from venture capitalists or that kind of thing. And it's basically leveraging the power of your fans. If the general public want a game that you're trying to create and they fund it, then you can make the game and it's good for the fans too. So yeah, I really love Kickstarter, and obviously it's changed my life. So yeah.
You're kind of free to do what you want to do, aren't you? Yeah, I suppose answering to other people. So the main point of the game, really, or the main feature of the game, which I really like, is the intelligent AIs that you have in the game. How have they developed over the last few months as you come ready to launch?
Okay, so I think if you're looking at the AI as an individual character, it does feel quite simplistic. So enemies attack you as you don't expect, or they run away if they think you're stronger. But the unique thing about the game is if you have lots and lots of monsters, and how they interact with each other is really interesting, and I don't think a lot of games do what we do. So basically you have different races in the game. So you've got orcs, you've got skeletons, you've got demons, and they all have different ways of interacting with each other. So basically they don't like each other, and if you see them in the same room, then they fight each other. So, and that's kind of the fun bit. So you can kind of lure a group of skeletons into a group of orcs, and they'll fight each other. You can hide around the corner, pick up the loot when they all die, and fun little scenarios and situations like that.
Let them kill themselves.
Yeah, let them kill themselves basically.
Yeah. And you have bosses now as well,
yes.
which we saw when Jake, my co-host, had a game earlier. He came against the first boss. Yeah, didn't do very well, did he?
No, I think what did he come up against? Was it a guy with a big sword, or was
it? The guy with the big sword.
So yeah, he packs quite a punch because he's got a gigantic sword about this high, but you can block him. So, but the whole point of the game is that you learn as you go along. So obviously next time Jake plays, that he might think about running away from him and using the traps, blocking a little bit more rather than trying attack him head on. So it's part of the learning experience of the game.
And there are a lot more traps now in the game as well. Some of them are quite evil, to say. How did you come up with the ideas for the different traps, and have you got others up your sleeve that might come out at a later date?
The traps in the game are kind of for your benefit, but also will affect you in negative ways as well. So obviously you don't want to get caught in the traps, like spike traps and the rotating crusher thing, and there's lots of, you can knock over torches and that set fire to stuff. But also you can use them to your advantage, so you can make sure you can lead enemies into traps. That's why TinyKeep's different to a lot of games. It's not just about combat, it's about using the environment.
Yeah. So you're having to learn about your environment and use it to your advantage as opposed to it just hurting you. It can hurt the bad guys as well, which is always a good thing.
It's basically you're the same as any other character in the game. The game doesn't treat you differently to another monster. So, you know, if something bad can happen to you, then it can happen to anyone in the game. So, yeah.
Excellent. You've got 22 levels now.
Yeah.
Does it get progressively harder? I'm guessing it does, but yeah. What's the last level like? Is it?
Well, there's different endings. So halfway through the game, you can actually finish the game. But there's a choice that you have to make, and if you make the second choice, then the game opens up. I won't spoil the story, but basically it will teleport you to another area, and you have to do another 10 levels, and that unlocks the third ending, which is kind of the interesting bit of the game. There's lots of different secret stuff there, different items you can get. Storyline changes a little bit, and there's a little bit of a twist at the end as well. So
you can play it several times and have a different ending, which is quite nice.
Replayability is something that we really designed into the game. So being able to find these different secrets, these different Easter eggs. We designed the game around speedrunning as well, so you're able to run through the level without having to kill enemies if you want to, so you can get that speedrunning. So.
Excellent. And now we're coming to the end. We're coming near launch day. What are you most proud of about this game that you've developed?
I think just the level of polish, really. I mean, when I first started the game, it was just me and the artist, and that was kind of it. We slowly brought in. I slowly met people as I went networking around the North and Manchester area, and met an amazing voice artist, and Jay, who we brought on as an amazing sound designer, and then Will, the composer, and now everything just sounds amazing and looks amazing. And it's just like, if you asked me this a year ago, I wouldn't have believed that the game could just feel so polished as it does now. So that's what I'm really proud of.
So bringing in some amazing people and creating an amazing game.
With them as well. So it's been quite an experience. So.
And what's been the hardest thing about developing this game for you?
I think the time pressure, really. So having limited amount of money, because of the Kickstarter, means that I have to squeeze in all the features that I want. So one way to get around that is to cut features, which is fine, and I have done that quite a lot. There's a lot of things in there that I would have liked to add into the game, for instance, local co-op multiplayer. So I had to cut that out because it would take me another 6 months to make. But I also didn't want to cut down too many features out of the game so that it wasn't the vision that I originally had. So the hardest thing is to basically spend the rest of the year and not having much of a life and making the game the way I wanted to make it. So.
Okay. So when is launch day? We're nearly there. And how can people find out and get TinyKeep?
Yeah. So EGX, we're here today, is kind of like a little launch party. So we've finished development now. We've uploaded the build to Steam. It'll be out on Steam on the 29th, Monday. Yeah. We originally want to get it out during EGX, but the publisher said it was a really bad idea because I should be active on the forums, providing support, that kind of thing. And at these events, you tend to get a little bit drunk and hungover, so it wasn't really the best time. Plus, we're really busy just showing the game. So it'll be out on Monday, 29th, on Steam.
On Steam.
PC, and then Mac and Linux versions to follow really, really soon. So.
Excellent. And how much is it going to be selling at the moment, retailing?
So recommended retail price is going to be $10.99. But there will be a 33% discount on launch for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. So.
Nice. And now that you've come to the end of this big project that you've been working on for so long, working so hard on, I'm guessing you're going to have a little bit of a break maybe. Yeah. What have you got planned for the future?
So I'm actually working on another game with some friends. So I'm starting on that in January next year. We've not officially announced it yet, but basically during the London Diary Game Jams, it's like a competition that online competition that there's run, I think, quarterly. Like 5,000 entries are entered every time there's competition, and we created a Oculus Rift game. It's basically your spaceship and you're in this corridor underground. It's called Sub-Level Zero, and it's a Oculus Rift Sport DK2 version. And it did really, really well. It did 21st place out of 2,000 entries. And that got picked up by a publisher. So now we're funded for another year making that game. So that's coming to a store near you at some point next year. So
I'm impressed. I didn't expect you to say Oculus Rift. That's quite a big thing for you.
So, yeah.
Excellent. And how can people find you and find out about this future game and everything you've got going?
Sorry?
How can people find you on the interwebs?
So I'm Phi Dinh, and my company is called Phi Games, but you can find me at phidinh.com, so it's phidinh.com, or follow me on Twitter, so Phi6, PHI number 6. So.
Thank you very much for your time, Phi, and good luck with the launch on Monday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.